Welcome to Nerdy and Flirty, a podcast designed to help you create a life that you love. It's nerdy with science-backed information, and it's flirty. It's fun, it's quick, it's straight to the point. My name is Cass, and welcome back to the podcast. I hope you're having a great day, a great week. I know I am, and I'm very excited to be giving you this episode today, because today we are talking about the secret to having it all. Now, I'm going to give you the spoiler right off the bat, because the truth about having it all is you can have it all, just not all at once, and that is okay. This episode is all about that. Honestly, I've been really struggling with this concept the past few weeks, and I say this saying all the time. Like, this is one of my favorite sayings in the world about having it all. You can't have it all at once, but it's still so hard to actually apply into your life, even though that saying is very simple to understand. The past few weeks, I've been really struggling with this feeling of needing to do it all. And I have been feeling this insane pressure on myself to do it all, to balance it all, to have it all, to excel in every single area of my life. And when I say have it all, I'm not really talking about material things. The things that I've been putting pressure on myself have been more just like excelling in the different areas of my life, whether it's career, physical health, friendships, social health, relationship, like all of those things all at once. That has been really draining. I feel like instead of focusing on what I do have and what I am excelling in, I feel like I've been constantly reminding myself of the things that I don't have. Instead of realizing like I'm excelling in these areas of my life, I keep reminding myself of the areas that I'm not really doing as well in, or that I've been putting on the back burner. And honestly, the view that I have on my life right now is so skewed because I'm seeing myself as this like quote unquote failure in certain areas of my life, when the reality is I've just been kind of maintaining while I prioritize other areas of my life. It's been hard for me to be okay with that and be accepting of that towards myself. And I hope that someone can relate to this, because I feel like we do this a lot, where we put pressure on ourselves to be excelling in all areas. And if we're not, then we feel like a failure. Especially as women, it's just ingrained in us to have it all and do it all at the same time, or we are failures as women. Whether it's trying to be the perfect mom, the perfect wife with the perfect household and cooking dinner every night and still having the perfect body and a career on the side with a side hustle while organizing everything and going on trips and being cultured and doing all of these things all at once. And I don't know about you, but I know I feel that pressure. I put that pressure on myself. Of course, like society puts pressure on us, but I know that I just put that pressure on myself as well. I feel like if I'm not doing all of these things all at once, then I'm not the best woman I could be. I'm not the best person that I could be. And honestly, some of it I completely cause on my own, because I have this mentality about certain things that I need to be the one to do it or it's not going to be done right. Does anyone else think that? Like, if you're not doing it, it's not going to get done right. So you just have to say yes, and you have to do all of these things, and you have to be this perfect person on the outside, when the reality is that it's really unsustainable to be doing it all at the same time. Even if you do manage it for a short term, eventually the burnout sets in. Right now, when I think about my life, and I really think about it logically from like an outsider's point of view, I'm excelling in certain parts of my life more than I ever have before. I've been putting myself out there more than I ever have before. And the result of that is that other areas of my life have taken the back burner, but not in the way of like I'm just letting it all go to be nothing, just in like a maintenance way where I feel like I'm coasting. And I really wanted to talk about this in an episode because I feel like we don't talk about it enough. Even though nowadays social media has become more realistic than it ever has been in the past. People are showing themselves without makeup and real skin and real bodies, and I love that. But I still think that there is such a push for like productivity underneath of it all. And I'm guilty of this too. Like, I literally post my time blocks and stuff like that, and people love them because we're all just like addicted to this productivity and this idea of doing everything perfect all of the time. But I do want to be real with you and say that it's not like that every day. The huge productivity hustle bustle is not the reality every single day. I absolutely take time to rest and like chill and scroll on social media and be like anybody else. And I definitely have phases of my life where I'm not as confident, where I'm not as like proud of what I'm doing, and I don't feel as good in my skin, and I don't feel as good in my body. And like that is very real and very normal. And the whole point of this episode is that you can absolutely have it all. You can have everything you've ever dreamt of, but you might not have it all at the same time, and that is totally okay. And what I mean by this is There are 8 dimensions of wellness, and I did an entire episode on the 8 dimensions of wellness, but there are different categories of your life as you can think of it. So there's your physical wellness, which would be like your workouts, your nutrition, things like that. But there's also your emotional wellness, like your mental health. And then there's your social health, how your relationships are, your spiritual health, which is how your relationships are with a higher power or your sense of purpose, your intellectual health, that curiosity, the learning, your occupational health, what your job is like, your financial health, your money, and then your environmental health, like how your environment is around you. All of those things tie into each other. And while some of them relate to each other, like for example, your physical health and your mental health, we know based on science and research that if your physical health is worse, your mental health will probably get worse as well. But then there are also parts of the dimensions of wellness, which are those 8 things that I just said, where some of them may actually supersede other parts of your life, and that is totally normal for shortened periods of time. For example, maybe right now you are fully devoted to your physical fitness. Maybe you started working with a trainer. Maybe you're starting 75 Hard. Something that you are fully committed to your physical health. During this time, it is probably very likely that your social health, for example, is not the most thriving that it has been in the past. Your social health will probably need to take the back seat for a while because you are so devoted to your physical health. You won't be able to hang out with your friends as much. You won't be able to go out for drinks and do those things that you wanted to do or you used to do in the past. But that is totally okay. And honestly, the only way to truly level up a certain area of your life is to devote time to it. And the only way to really prioritize and devote time to a certain area of your life is to take time from somewhere else. We only have a certain amount of time in the day. And honestly, I hate seeing when people are like, we all have the same 24 hours in the day, because it makes you feel like you need to just spend all your 24 hours doing all this stuff. And if you don't, then you're a failure. And that's just not true. Or we can even take the flip side of this and talk about the opposite scenario. Maybe this is your time for socializing. Maybe this is the time where you're really trying to build a strong community around you, whether you just moved cities or you're trying to make new friends. Maybe you're starting college. Whatever reasons you want to start building your social health, that is going to have to be a priority until you do that. You're going to be out socializing. So maybe your physical health isn't the best right now, but that's totally okay. It doesn't mean that it goes completely awful and you're just a failure now in terms of everything. It might just mean that instead of doing all the workouts you plan to do and eating at home all the time, now you're just doing that a little bit less because you're socializing, because you're going out with friends, because you're meeting up with people. If you're really trying to build your social health, you kind of have to prioritize that in order to truly see changes in that area of life. Sometimes certain areas of your life are going to be the priority for a little bit. That doesn't make you a failure for not prioritizing everything all at once. In fact, the only way to truly prioritize something is to put other things secondary. You have to make things a priority in order to truly see change in them. It doesn't mean that it will be like this forever. Life continually ebbs and flows, and different chapters are for different things. I mean, I'm sure you can even think of a time right now where you prioritize something different than you're prioritizing right now. That is completely normal, and it's honestly super healthy to know what areas of your life need to be a priority for a little bit in order to see happiness and success in your life. Like, for example, when I moved away to college, I had to prioritize socializing over certain things because if not, I would have no community and no friends. Or like when I moved back home after college, I didn't have many close friends here once I moved back, and I had to prioritize going out and socializing in order to make new friendships or rekindle old ones. If I just spent my life not prioritizing social health and just continue doing my physical health, my mental health, my work health, all that kind of stuff, then I probably wouldn't have any friends right now, and then I would feel even worse about my life. There's such a misconception, especially for women, that you can have it all at once. I can literally remember being a little girl and thinking that I would wake up one day just living my Pinterest board lifestyle. While certain aspects are definitely true from that, it is truly impossible to be a perfect homeowner, perfect wife, perfect mom, perfect entrepreneur with your own business, perfect workout routine, homemade dinner every night, with hobbies on the side. It's literally impossible. There will be times and phases of your life for each of those things that you actually want in your life, but to expect yourself to have it all at once is just setting you up for disappointment. You can absolutely have all of those things you want, but it's truly impossible to have them all at the same time. And this is something that I have to remind myself of constantly because I am so hard on myself when it comes to this. And sometimes I forget that I can't have it all at once perfect all the time. Like whenever I'm trying to learn a new skill or start a new habit or practice something new, that has to be the priority for it to happen. And once I get better at it and it becomes part of my routine normally, then I can add other things in and I can prioritize other things. But like, let's say when I first started this podcast, like the podcast had to be a big priority for me to actually make sure that it started and went up every single week and I didn't miss any episodes. So when I was starting that out, that was my priority. Yeah, I was still kind of going to the gym. I was still eating healthy. I was still doing my hobbies. But the main thing was the podcast. I was spending so much time figuring it out, learning how to do it better, writing the scripts, editing, learning how to edit, learning how to record, researching microphones. Like I had to prioritize that or it just would have never happened. But it's easy for me to look at myself and just be like, okay, you're only doing this one thing and every part of your life isn't doing as well as it used to. But the reality is if I didn't make those compromises, I wouldn't be where I'm at with the podcast. And that's just one small example. I can think about my whole life and I can think about phases of my life where I prioritize certain things. Like example, in the beginning of 2024, like January, February, I was going out with my friends quite often. Like I was doing a lot of socializing and honestly, like I needed that because back in October, I started this podcast. I wasn't going out. I was working on the podcast. I was doing stuff for this. And then eventually it got a little bit easier. I got quicker at editing, quicker at recording, quicker at things that I could start prioritizing a different part of my life. But it doesn't make me a failure at any point in those times. I was just prioritizing different things at different times. Just like you are not a failure for prioritizing certain things over other things because it makes sense for your life. You know what you need to prioritize. You know the areas of your life that you want to really level up in, and other parts can just kind of coast for right now. It doesn't make you a failure because you don't have everything all figured out all at once. Sometimes when I feel like I'm really getting hard on myself, I just remind myself that this is just the phase of life that I'm in right now. And that's something I truly tell myself, like, this is the phase of life where I am blank. Maybe you're figuring out your career. Maybe you're building a community. Maybe you are focused on dating or trying to find a partner. Maybe you're focused on going out with your girlfriends. Maybe you're focused on really getting your physical health together or your emotional health together. Or maybe you're really focused on learning something new because you haven't itched that in a while. Whatever it is completely valid. And the only way to prioritize that phase of your life is to put other things a little bit secondary. Doesn't mean give them up completely. But just imagine if I told you that I wanted to start marathon training while starting a business, while also going to grad school, while also trying to make dinner every single night, while also going out with my friends every single week. Like that would be so impossible to start all of those things all at once. Maybe doing one at a time, each chapter for a different thing, but to just do all of them all at once would be like so hard. Of course you're going to feel bad about yourself. And it's so easy to see what's lacking in your life that you forget all the good that you have. It's so easy to look at your life and say, well, I don't have the boyfriend, or I don't have the strong friendships, or I don't have that rockin' body that I really want, or I don't spend time reading even though everyone on Instagram tells me I need to read. It's so easy to say those things to yourself and tell yourself all the things that you're not doing that we forget all the good things that we are doing. And I really encourage you to look at your life and just remind yourself of where you're excelling, because there has to be somewhere. There is definitely somewhere that you are excelling, and maybe you don't see the value in it because you're being hard on yourself, but maybe you're a really good friend to people. Maybe you're the one that's always calling everyone, checking in on them, making them feel good. That's a big role to play, and it's one that we don't take seriously because we are not in Forbes 30 under 30. But that is a big role, and that's a big place that you might be excelling in. Or maybe you're excelling in your mental health. Maybe for the past few months, you've really been on your game with taking care of your mental health, and you haven't felt so down about yourself, and you've been taking care of your anxiety and doing things like that. That's something to feel like you're excelling in. Maybe you don't have your dream career right now, but that doesn't matter because you're taking care of yourself. Or maybe you are excelling in your career, and right now you're young and you're ready to hustle and you're hungry. Maybe that's where you're excelling, but you're so caught up that you don't have the boyfriend or the girlfriend. It's so easy to keep thinking about the things you don't have and feel like you're not complete without whatever thing you're trying to have. But I'm here to tell you that you are excelling at something and you can have it all and you will have all those things that you dream of and that you want, but you won't have them all at once. It's really hard to do them all and have it all at once, but you will have it all. You can have it all at some point. And the first step to feeling like you have it all is believing that you already do. Reminding yourself of what you are doing, the things you are accomplishing, whether it's career or not. Whether it's productive or not, it doesn't matter because you're doing something. Remind yourself of what you're doing well in and what you're excelling in. And when you get hard on yourself, keep going back to those reminders. One of my favorite things that I have is a huge list of my small wins. They are things that are so small. Some of them are big, but a lot of them are so tiny. They're things that I feel like I did throughout the day that make me feel like a winner. Maybe it's sitting outside for 15 minutes before I go to work. Maybe I really got through to a student at work. Maybe I made a dance that I'm really proud of. Maybe I stood up for myself to someone. It doesn't matter how big or how small, and no one ever reads my list, but it reminds me that good things happen and that I have good things going on, even though I forget about them a lot of the time. It's so easy to forget the good things because we're constantly reminded by and surrounded by the things that we don't quite have going on yet. So I really encourage you to take some time to think about what phase of life you're in that you're actually really proud of, instead of thinking so much about the things you haven't quite perfected yet. You'll get there, you have time, and you'll do the things that you really want to do, but it doesn't happen overnight. And something else that I kind of struggle with in this is that I feel like I'm not making any progress in the moment. But then I look back and I see how much I've grown. And I encourage you to do the same thing as well. If you're feeling like you're stuck in life or feeling like you haven't done something in a while, look back and just look at how much you've grown. Maybe you haven't grown so much career-wise or productivity-wise, but you've grown a lot emotionally, socially, spiritually, intellectually. Really think about those other areas of your life that you might have grown that you kind of forgot because you didn't get the big raise and the big promotion and the big job title, or you didn't get the big business entrepreneurship thing going on. Those things will happen. If you really want those things to happen, they will happen. But I'll tell you what, they're not going to happen if you're sitting there hating yourself and feeling like you're a failure when the truth is that you're not. Take off the goggles that you look at yourself with and really look at yourself logically and look at yourself like someone that you love. Look at yourself like someone else that you really love. Because I bet you'd never tell one of your closest friends that they're a failure because they don't have it all going on all at once. You would never do that because that's so mean. So why do we do it to ourselves? So that's what I have for you guys today. I know this was a little bit different because there's not 3-step tip to get out of this. There's not strategies to get out of this. It's just kind of a mindset shift to feel a little bit better about yourself, because I know I needed that the past few weeks. And I know that if I'm feeling like this, I know there's at least one person that feels the same way and needs to hear something like this. So I hope this brought you some compassion for yourself and helped you reframe the way that you see your life. You're not a failure. You're not behind. No one's judging you, and all the other things that you need to tell yourself right now. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week. Definitely let me know what you think on the Instagram at Nerdy and Flirty Pod. Share it with a friend or share it on your Instagram story. It really helps. And I hope you have a great day. I will talk to you next week. Bye.